Hello and welcome back to part 3. My name is Tim Stack and we are partway through this tutorial of creating a layout in Fireworks CS5. Okay, so I built a little navigation bar there. It's not functional. I'm just designing how it looks. Let's see what else we need to do on this layout. So one of the things here on object management, you can see I got a whole bunch of objects over here, from here to here. All of those are just making up that navigation bar. So once I'm done with this navigation bar, I don't really want to see all these again, so I'm going to put in a folder. So you can see down here at the bottom, I can put in, it calls it a layer, but it's like a folder, so I'm going to click that, and you can see I got it up here, and if I double click on it, I'm just going to name this nav bar, and then I can move all of these objects right into that layer or into that folder, and then if I toggle that down, I don't have to see them, and I can toggle it open anytime I want if I want to see them. Okay, so here's what we got so far. Now I would like these each one of these to be its own button. So I'm going to have to cut them into pieces, or I need to tell Fireworks to cut them into pieces. So let's go through that slicing process. So one thing to do before I do any slicing is, you can see how I've got some extra canvas here all the way around. There is a button down here on the default properties bar, just the fit canvas, and that usually is the best way to trim off any excess canvas. So I've just clicked fit canvas. Excuse me, now it is the same size all the way around. So I want to define where each one of these buttons will be, so where someone will have to click. And if I look over here under the web tools, there's a tool here which is the slice tool, so I'm going to pick up that. Now this slice tool draws rectangles, so I have to slice in rectangles, and it'll put a little piece of green film over this. So maybe I'm just going to zoom in here a bit so you can see, and I just need to draw a slice around the area that I want to be a button. So how about right to there, and I don't need to include, so I've got a little extra. I'm going to just pull that down. I went and got the black selection tool, and I'm just making that a little more accurate. Okay, let's just go along to the next one. I'm zoomed in a tiny bit too much. Okay, so the next one here, I've got the slice tool, and I'm going to just click and drag that across. And once you get started here, they'll kind of want to snap together. Okay, let me just get all 5 of these done. Right to there, and maybe 6. I guess I have 6. Right to there, and right to there, and the last one. Now this little green film, all it signifies, it just tells Fireworks that when this is exported, that this is where I want it to cut and make each one of these into buttons. Oops, I did the wrong way there. Just trying to fine-tune that last one. If you're having trouble fine-tuning your slices, zoom in, then it becomes much more precise. Okay, so you can see I created this the web layer got created. There's those 6 slices. Let me just go back out here where I can see the whole thing. So it looks a little funny because you're not really seeing your the right colors anymore, but anytime you need to, you can just turn off that whole web layer so you can see the content there. Okay, so I've got those slices made. I probably want to tell Fireworks the other areas that I want it to slice up as well. So I'm going to grab that slice tool. I want to make sure that that Fireworks creates this top graphic. And I want to slice down here that slices out my main content area, but doesn't include any part of the footer. Whoops, didn't quite make it all the way across. You want to go all the way to the full canvas there. And then one more slice here along the bottom that sort of gets the footer, or the bottom of the design. These little sub pieces here, you can slice those if you want, and it'll kind of snap into place. Fireworks would take care of them for you as well if you didn't do that manually. Okay, so I got slices around everything. The most important one here is this middle one. This middle one needs to be clean. By that I mean, let me just turn off some of these other ones. that middle piece there needs to not include any part of the footer. So I can get a little closer there. I don't want it to include any part of that curve, and I want to make sure that it doesn't include anything at the top here, because this piece is going to tile on longer pages, so it's not including any of that little bottom part. It needs to be just a clean slice out of the middle, because on long pages on my website, that piece is going to repeat. And if I've included part of the curve, or if I've included part of the header or the buttons, I'll see that little piece showing up multiple times. Okay, so there are my slices. I'm going to turn them all back on. Now I'm ready to export this if it's how I want it to look. I've got a little more work to do, so I'm going to turn off that eyeball. One of the things that I want to do is clean up this edge. I'd like a little thin black border all the way around the edge here. And you can see I've got a couple of extra rectangles that are exactly the right size and in exactly the right place. So I'm going to turn one of those on and unlock it. Okay, so all I want to do with this rectangle is I want to come down and tell it to have a black stroke or a black border, and then tell it not to have any fill. So I just open that up and choose none, and so that rectangle's still there, but the only part we see is that little thin black border, and it's sitting right on top, and it's in right exactly the same place. Okay, so other things that we might do. Some people might think we need a little thin black line here along the bottom of my header. So you could just use the line tool to draw that in. Other folks might think, gosh, it'd be nice if this, it might look cool if this image that you've got here fades downward. So all of that's you can do if you want it to fade down. I'm going to unlock this. This mask that I've created. If I select that little rectangle piece over there in the web layer, not the web layer, in the layer panel, I can come in and add a gradient, just a linear gradient to that, and you can see it gives me a way to create a fade. Now that it's fading on the top instead of the bottom, so I might have to switch the colors here. So the black and the white, and just switch places. Now wherever it's black, it's going to be faded out, and I've just moved the black to be to the bottom. Oops, I just didn't want to do that. So now I've got this fade on the bottom, and if I want to control that, you can see I have a little controller, so I can fade out that bottom edge. So that might be kind of a fun look. Alright, one other thing I might want to do is these buttons across the top here. It might be kind of nice if they had a little bit of a rollover to them. Maybe they just changed color. So again, I need to create another copy of those. So I'm going to do this kind of quick because this is meant to be a review. But I'm going to switch to the states panel, and you can see I have one state, and I'm going to duplicate this one state. Okay, so what that really does, it just gave me 2 copies of everything. So in the second copy here, I'm going to come in and select all this text and say, you know, I want this text to turn, how about blue? Let's see what that looks like. Oh, can't read that. Maybe light blue. Okay, maybe that'll work. How about we make it the same color as the canvas color? That's what I wanted. So I'm going to open up my little thing and just go choose this color from there, and I think that'll work. So you can see there's what my rollover is going to look like. So I've created the extra version. Now I just need to go back to the web layer, and each one of these buttons has a little round menu that comes up on it, or each one of these slices. I'm going to click on that and just say, hey, add the simple rollover behavior. All that does, it says when the mouse rolls over this slice, take what's in state 1 and swap it for what the image looks like in state 2, which is the one with the blue text. So I'm just going to add that to each one. Okay. Alright, now with that much done, we should be able to test that, and I'm just going to click this preview button here, and I can see that it is rolling over, which will be just fine. Go back to original. One other thing you can do as well as you're working, you can preview it in the browser just like in Dreamweaver, and it's not a bad idea to do that. So just preview this in Dreamweaver. It takes it a sec to load up. Okay, so there's what my layout's looking like right now. It's coming along. The rollovers work. That's mostly what I wanted to see. And I don't think I'm going to worry about creating a footer here until the next tutorial. So that's enough for this one. So check back for part 4 where we export this out of Fireworks and take it into Dreamweaver.